Welcome to Monk's Temple. I invite you to settle into this moment, exactly as you are. There's no need to adjust your posture or quiet your mind. Simply allow your awareness to rest gently on the sound of my voice, as if it were a soft light in the room. If you're here, perhaps your energy feels like a shallow stream, and the idea of adding one more task, even meditation, feels like a weight. That is perfectly fine. In fact, it is an ideal starting point. The wisdom we explore today is not about adding, but about uncovering a different kind of resource that becomes visible only when the usual noise subsides. This is a space where psychological understanding meets ancient pathways, creating simple, actionable steps for your everyday life. So, let's begin with a story. There was a woman named Anya, a master gardener who prided herself on vibrant, chaotic English cottage gardens, a riot of color and life. One year, a severe drought settled over the land. Her flourishing blooms wilted, the lush greenery turned brittle and brown. She could have exhausted herself and the town's water supply in a futile battle against the inevitable. Instead, she made a radical pivot. She began to study xeriscaping, the art of gardening with drought-tolerant plants. That season, her garden transformed. Silvers, grays, and deep purples replaced the pastels. Succulents and hardy, structural shrubs created a landscape of stark, resilient beauty. It was different, quieter, but profoundly alive. She discovered an entirely new aesthetic of endurance, one that didn't fight the limitation but adapted with wisdom. Her low-energy garden, stripped of its former vibrancy, became a lesson in a deeper, more sustainable kind of growth. If this way of seeing limitation as a potential teacher resonates with you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It is a simple way to ensure these gentle reminders find you when you most need them. What Anya discovered in her soil is a direct reflection of a core principle in Buddhism, the truth of impermanence, or anicca. Conditions change. The rain stops. Energy wanes. The Buddha's profound insight was that our suffering is rarely about the change itself, but about our rigid attachment to how things were supposed to be. Psychologically, we conflate our sense of self with a specific, preferred set of conditions: high energy, high output, constant vibrancy. When those conditions shift, we feel we are failing. The Buddhist framework invites a liberating reframe. What if your identity is not the colorful bloom, but the intelligent, adaptable root system beneath? The root system doesn't mourn the drought, it learns to seek moisture differently. This shift from identifying with the temporary flower to trusting the resilient root is the essence of actionable self-help from this ancient perspective. It moves us from victimhood to agency, even in stillness. Let's explore this with a new metaphor. Imagine your consciousness is not a thing you possess, but a sky canvas. Some days, the sky is a brilliant, cloudless blue, a high-energy, clear day. Other days, it is heavy with gray, dense fog, a low-energy day. Our instinct is to see the fog as a problem obscuring the real, blue sky. We waste immense energy waiting for it to burn off, resenting its presence. But what if the fog is not an obscuration of the canvas, but a different kind of paint on the canvas? The sky's nature is to hold weather, not to be one type of weather permanently. Your awareness is the sky itself, vast, accepting, and capable of holding every possible condition. The fog has its own texture, its own soft beauty, its own way of muting the world's sharp edges into tranquility. The practice, then, is to stop arguing with the fog and to instead feel its cool, gentle presence. To appreciate the world it reveals, muted sounds, softened outlines, an invitation to move slowly. This is the application of right view, the first step on the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path. It means seeing the fog for what it is, a temporary condition on the sky of your awareness, rather than through the distorted view of what it is not. This perspective gives us a powerful, immediate tool, the pause of allowing. When you feel the fog of low energy descend, instead of launching your internal campaign to get motivated, institute a conscious pause. For 1 minute, set this intention: for this minute, I will not try to change this. I will simply allow this feeling to be here, as it is. Breathe into the heaviness. Let your posture soften around it. This is not passivity, it is a strategic, mindful choice to cease resistance. In the Buddha's teaching, this is the cultivation of upekkha, or equanimity, the balanced heart that can hold all experiences without being overthrown by them. Psychologically, this pause breaks the conditioned cycle of stress reaction. It creates a tiny space of freedom where you are no longer a slave to the feeling, but the compassionate container for it. From this space, any action you then choose will be more intentional, more skillful, and less draining. Let's continue. The story of the gardener and the drought shows us that wisdom lies not in denial, but in creative adaptation. This brings us to another profound concept from the heart of Buddhist teaching, but we'll approach it through a modern psychological lens. We often speak of self-care as a series of actions, a bath, a walk, a treat. Yet, on our lowest energy days, even these can feel like burdensome items on a list. What if the most fundamental self-care is not an action, but a shift in perception? What if it is the act of disidentifying from the storm of your current state? Consider the mind as a house of weather. Inside this house, various weather patterns move through the rooms. One room might be experiencing a thunderstorm of anxiety. Another, a dull, drizzling rain of sadness. The hallway might be filled with the heavy, still air of fatigue. Our common mistake, taught to us by a culture of constant striving, is to believe we are the weather. We say, "I am tired," as if the temporary atmospheric condition in the hallway is the entire structure and its permanent owner. The Buddha's foundational teaching on anatta, or non-self, offers a liberating correction. You are not the weather. You are the house itself. The house is the aware, spacious consciousness that contains all passing weather. The house has a foundation, walls, a roof. It remains, offering shelter, while storms, sunshine, and fog pass through. Your fatigue is just a weather system in one room of your being. It is not the totality of who you are. When you practice remembering you are the house, you grant yourself instant sanctuary. You can observe the fatigue weather with a sense of, this is here now, without collapsing into it. This psychological move, from fusion to observation, is the very essence of mindfulness meditation and the gateway to true resilience. Now, let me share a story about a man named Leo. Leo was a master fixer, a project manager whose identity was built on solving problems. At work, at home, even in his friendships, he was the one who engineered solutions. Then, a prolonged but non-critical illness left him bedridden for weeks. His capacity to fix anything. A squeaky door, a friend's dilemma, even his own condition, evaporated. Lying there, he was forced to watch dust gather and listen to problems he could not solve. The initial torture was not the illness, but the annihilation of his fixer self. As the weeks passed, however, a strange thing happened. Stripped of his role, he began to simply notice. He noticed the precise way afternoon light painted a rectangle on his wall. He noticed the subtle variations in the birdsong outside his window. He heard the worry in his sister's voice not as a problem to be solved, but as a melody of care. He experienced, viscerally, the Buddhist truth of dukkha, the suffering that arises from attachment. His suffering was his fierce attachment to the fixer identity. And in its forced retirement, he tasted nibbana, not as a heavenly realm, but as the cooling peace of letting that particular fire of craving go out. His low-energy state became the very water that quenched the flames of a limiting self-concept. He discovered he could be a non-fixer, and still be whole, still be connected, still be at peace. From this story, we can extract a gentle practice for low-energy days, the art of conscious incompetence. Our culture worships competence. On days we feel incompetent, we feel worthless. This practice invites you to deliberately, and with a soft curiosity, choose an area of incompetence and explore it without the goal of improvement. If your mind is foggy, don't try to think clearly. Instead, watch the fog drift. If your body is heavy, don't try to be light. Instead, feel the profound truth of gravity, the pull of the earth holding you. For 5 minutes, be a complete amateur at being tired. Study the sensations as if they were newly discovered phenomena. This is an application of beginner's mind, Shoshin, a Zen concept. It removes the performance pressure from your own experience. When you stop trying to be good at having energy, you simply have the experience you are having. The judgment falls away, and with it, a massive drain on your system. You are no longer failing at being energetic, you are succeeding at being present with fatigue. This connects to a powerful Buddhist principle, right effort, samavayama. This is often misunderstood as grim determination. It is not. The Buddha taught balanced effort, the middle way between the strain of forcing and the slide into indulgence. On a high-energy day, right effort might be the effort to initiate a project. On a low-energy day, right effort is something far more subtle and vital. It is the effort to release unskillful thoughts. It is the gentle, persistent effort to notice when you've begun a mental rant about your tiredness, and to softly let the sentence go unfinished. It is the effort to nudge your mind from, "this is terrible," to, "this is what's here." It is the effort of non-effort, the effort to cease the wasteful effort of resistance. This is the actionable core. Your job on a low-energy day is not to produce, but to conserve and purify your mental energy by stopping the leaks of self-criticism and resistance. That is a more than worthy use of your limited resources. Let's introduce a new metaphor for this, the energy budget. Imagine you have a very small amount of psychic currency today. You cannot afford major investments. The question becomes, what are the hidden fees and subscriptions draining your account? Every moment of resentment against your state is a fee. Every comparison to a more energetic past self is a subscription charge. The practice of right effort on a low-energy day is the practice of mindful austerity. You go through your mental accounts and cancel the unnecessary drains. I unsubscribe from the story that today defines my worth. I cancel the fee of comparing my insides to others' outsides. What remains is your small, precious budget of attention. You can then spend it with profound intention, on one deep breath, on truly tasting a sip of water, on listening fully to a single song. This is the path of the Buddha applied to daily life, renouncing what harms to cherish what truly nourishes, even when, especially when, your resources feel scant. Let's move deeper into this landscape of mindful conservation. We've spoken of being the house for the weather, of practicing conscious incompetence, and of auditing our energy budget. These are all ways of relating differently to a state of low energy. But Buddhism also offers a radical view on the nature of the state itself, one that can transform it from a prison into a portal. This view is centered on the principle of interdependence, or paticca samuppada, the profound truth that nothing exists in isolation. Your fatigue is not a solitary, solid enemy. It is a shimmering web of causes and conditions. Think of it as a silent symphony. A symphony is not a single note held by one instrument. It is a complex, living interplay. Your low energy might be the dominant cello section right now, a slow, deep resonance. But what are the other instruments contributing? Perhaps the woodwinds of sleep quality last night are playing a faint, off-key melody. The percussion of your nutritional choices is providing a sluggish rhythm. The string section of your recent thoughts is holding a minor chord. The brass of your environmental stimuli is muted. You are not just tired. You are the entire symphony in this particular, temporary arrangement. The psychological power in this view is that it depersonalizes the experience. It's not that you are flawed, it's that the myriad conditions of body and mind have coalesced into this particular music. And because all conditions are impermanent, the music will inevitably change. Your work is not to stop the cellos, but to listen to the whole orchestra with curiosity. Is there a way to gently adjust the volume on one section? A glass of water might soften the percussion. A moment of looking at the sky might lift the strings. But the first and most important step is to listen, to hear the fatigue not as a monolithic fact, but as a complex, interdependent event. Let me share an original story about a teacher named Samir. He was a dedicated high school physics teacher who loved demonstrating principles of momentum and force. His energy was kinetic, transferred to his students. After a personal loss, he found himself in what he called inertia, not depression, but a profound stillness where initiating motion felt impossible. One day, in this state, he was trying to explain Newton's first law: an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. As he said the words, he saw his own condition reflected in the law. He realized he had been waiting for an internal force of motivation to appear, to push him out of rest. But the law stated the force must come from outside the object. So, he made a tiny experiment. He did not try to generate motivation from within. Instead, he asked an outside force for help. He texted a colleague to meet him for a 5-minute walk before class. The colleague's agreement was the external force. Putting on his shoes was the resultant motion. That tiny, externally initiated action created a minute shift in momentum. Samir had applied a physics law as a spiritual practice of interdependence. He saw himself not as a failed self-starter, but as a system interacting with other systems. His low-energy inertia became a lesson in humility and connection, teaching him to allow the world to gently nudge him when his own internal engines were quiet. This is the Bodhisattva path in miniature. Relying on and contributing to the web of life, not from a place of heroic independence, but from acknowledged interdependence. This leads us to a practical method, the minimum viable action. On days when a to-do list feels like a mountain, do not look at the summit. Instead, identify the single, smallest, most externalized first step. The goal is not accomplishment, but the intentional creation of a tiny shift in momentum. It is not, clean the kitchen. It is, walk to the sink. It is not, write the report. It is, open the document and type one word. This approach is deeply aligned with the Buddhist concept of karma, which at its simplest means intentional action. The focus is on the purity and clarity of the intention behind the smallest action, not the grandiose result. By completing a minimum viable action, you plant a seed of skillful karma. You prove to yourself that action is possible, even within the ecosystem of fatigue. You create a condition for the next moment to be slightly different. This breaks the hypnotic trance of helplessness and re-establishes your agency in the most gentle, non-violent way possible. Now, let's weave in another core Buddhist principle, but through a fresh metaphor, mudita, or appreciative joy. It is the joyful happiness at the success and good fortune of others. On low-energy days, comparing our stillness to others' activity can be a source of deep pain. We twist the beautiful practice of mudita into its shadow, envy. To work with this, imagine your field of awareness as a night sky. Your own star, your personal energy, may feel dim tonight. But look around. Countless other stars are shining brilliantly. The practice of mudita on a low-energy day is to soften your gaze from your own dim star and let yourself appreciate the spectacular constellations others are forming. That colleague who finished a project. A bright star. A friend posting a joyful moment. A twinkle of light. Your job is not to curse your own dimness, but to let the collective starlight inspire a sense of wonder at the vast, beautiful cosmos of human endeavor. Your dimness allows you to see their light more clearly. In this act of generous appreciation, you paradoxically step out of the cramped closet of self-comparison and into a spacious, interconnected universe. Your low energy becomes the dark velvet that makes the jewels of others' joys sparkle. This is not passive resignation, it is an active, heart-opening practice that transforms loneliness into a sense of belonging to a luminous whole. Consider a brief tale about a musician named Elias. He was a composer plagued by creative block, staring at a blank page, his mental energy for melody completely spent. In frustration, he left his studio and went to a local park where a small, amateur brass band was practicing, somewhat poorly, in a pavilion. He sat on a bench, too tired to even judge their missed notes. He just let the sounds wash over him, the bold, flat trumpet, the pa of the tuba, the scrappy rhythm of the snare. In his depleted, receptive state, with no energy to critique or compose, he began to hear not the errors, but the raw, joyful intention behind each note. The simple, unpolished harmony began to seem profoundly beautiful. A tear rolled down his cheek from the sheer, unadorned humanity of it. In that moment, his block dissolved not because he found new energy, but because his low energy forced him into a state of pure, non-judgmental reception. He experienced sunyata, emptiness, as a fertile void that could receive the world exactly as it was, and in that receiving, inspiration was spontaneously reborn. He didn't go back to compose a symphony. He wrote a simple, beautiful piece for amateur brass band, celebrating imperfect, collective joy. His low energy had become a conduit for a deeper, more connected creativity. We have been exploring how low energy can become a teacher, a space for listening, and a conduit for connection. Now, let's turn to one of the most subtle and powerful tools in the Buddhist toolkit for such days, the practice of equanimity. The Pali word is upekkha. It is the fourth of the Brahma Viharas, the sublime dwellings of the heart. It is not cold indifference. It is the profound, unshakable balance of a heart that has seen the true nature of things. On a low-energy day, our balance is easily lost. We tip into frustration, or we collapse into despondency. Equanimity is the practice of finding the center point in the storm. Imagine yourself as a deep-sea buoy. On the surface, the ocean of your mind and body may be choppy. Winds of irritation blow. Waves of lethargy rise and fall. The weather of your energy is turbulent. The buoy is anchored by a long, strong cable to the seabed far below. The surface conditions move it, but they cannot capsize it or sweep it away. It rides the waves with a stable, accepting presence. Your awareness is that buoy. The choppy surface is your changing thoughts and feelings. The anchor cable is your mindful connection to the present moment. The solid seabed is the ground of your being, the silent awareness itself that never moves. The practice on a low-energy day is not to calm the surface ocean, that may be beyond your current means. The practice is to lengthen your anchor cable. To feel your connection to the depth. With each breath, imagine yourself sinking below the turbulence, not to escape it, but to find the stability beneath it. You are still on the surface, feeling the waves, but you are held by something vast and quiet. This is Upeka. It is the psychological insight of grounding techniques married to the spiritual framework of inner refuge. Let me tell you about a woman named Clara. She was a project manager, a master of Gantt charts and deadlines. Her identity was built on forward momentum. Then, she developed a chronic condition that imposed unpredictable, crash days. Days where her physical and mental energy would simply evaporate. Her first reaction was sheer terror. Her self-worth, tied to productivity, plummeted. One crash day, lying on her couch, she noticed a spider weaving a web in the corner of her high ceiling. She watched, for lack of any other energy. She saw the spider work with diligent, silent focus, then retreat to the center and wait. A breeze from the heater would tear a section. The spider would return, not with frustration, but with quiet purpose, to repair the broken threads. It did not rage against the breeze. It did not lament the lost work. It simply attended to the net, again and again. Clara saw in that spider the embodiment of patient perseverance, Kanti, aparami, or perfection, taught by the Buddha. The spider was anchored in its nature, not in the intactness of its web. Her crash days, she realized, were the breeze. Her task was not to prevent the breeze, but to learn the spider's quiet art of return and repair, anchored in her nature beyond productivity. Her low-energy days became her retreats to the center of the web, where she could remember who she was when she wasn't doing. From this, we can derive a gentle practice, the center point scan. When you feel scattered by fatigue, take 2 minutes. Close your eyes if it's comfortable. Ask yourself, where in my body do I feel most neutral? It might be the tip of a finger, a patch of skin on your shin, the space behind your ears. It is not a place of pleasure or pain, but of simple, undeniable existence. Bring your attention to that neutral center point. Let your awareness rest there as if it were the spider sitting in the center of its web, or the buoy connected to the seabed. All the fatigue, the mental chatter, the emotional weight are like sensations tugging at the outer threads, or waves on the surface. You acknowledge them, but you do not leave your center to chase them. You let the anchor cable of your breath tether you to this point of neutral sensation. This is a direct application of samadhi, or concentration, in the Buddha's Eightfold Path. You are concentrating on a base of stability. It is a minimal, sustainable action that rebuilds your sense of inner integrity from the inside out. This work naturally brings us to the concept of non-striving. In the West, we worship striving. On a low-energy day, our inability to strive feels like a sin. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki famously said, "When you try to stop thinking, it means you are busy trying. Do not try. Do not try." This is the essence of the practice for low energy. We must engage in the paradox of active non-doing. It is not passivity. It is a vigilant, gentle intention to not add fuel to the fire of struggle. Here is a new metaphor, the restful guardian. Imagine your depleted energy system is a sacred, sleeping animal, a creature that needs deep rest to heal. Your thinking, striving mind is a nervous, overzealous guard pacing around the animal, shining lights, poking it, worrying if it will ever wake up. This guard is exhausting itself and preventing the animal from resting. The practice is to relieve the guard of duty. To sit down quietly beside the sleeping creature, not as its manager, but as its witness. Your only job is to ensure the space is safe for rest. You watch over the fatigue with kindness, not with an agenda. You are using energy not to fix, but to protect the space for restoration. This is a form of metta directed at your own condition. You are the guardian of your own rest, not its interrogator. This shift in role, from manager to guardian, is profoundly liberating. It replaces the anxiety of, "When will this end?" with the dignity of, "This is what needs tending right now." I recall a story about a retired carpenter named Henry. After a lifetime of building things, his hands grew too unsteady for fine work. He fell into a deep lethargy, a sense of purposelessness. One day, his granddaughter asked him to teach her how to whittle. He said, "My hands shake. I can't do it neatly anymore." She said, "That's okay. We'll just make shaky shapes." Reluctantly, he sat with her on the porch. As he tried to guide her small hands, his own tremors made the cuts wobble. Instead of smooth figurines, they produced odd, lumpy, charming forms. They laughed at each creation, naming them, the wobbly bear, the quivering bird. Henry discovered that his flaw, the shaky hands of low-energy aging, did not prohibit the act of creation, it simply defined a new, imperfect aesthetic. His lifetime pursuit of precision and control gave way to the joyful, shared acceptance of wobbliness. He was practicing aparigraha, non-grasping, letting go of his old identity as a master craftsman to embrace being a playful grandfather. His low-energy phase became the cradle for a new, more connected form of creativity, rooted in presence rather than perfection. So, we see that equanimity is not about stoically enduring. It is about anchoring in a deeper stability. It is about becoming the guardian of your rest, not the critic of your lack. It is about finding the center point in the wobble. These are not escapes from low energy, they are profound engagements with it, transforming a state of depletion into a field for wisdom. As we continue, let's explore a dimension often overlooked on low-energy days, the dimension of perception itself. Buddhism teaches that a great deal of our suffering comes not from raw sensation, but from our perception of that sensation. The label, the story, the meaning we instantly and often unconsciously attach. A feeling of heaviness is just a constellation of physical signals. But our perception names it fatigue, attaches to it a story of "I am failing," and projects a future of "this will never end." This three-step process, sensation, perception, mental proliferation, is what the Buddha called papanka. It is the mind's habitual tendency to spin a tiny seed of experience into a vast, tangled forest of suffering. On a low-energy day, this proliferation runs rampant. Our work, then, is to return to the seed. Imagine your mind has a perception filter. On a bright, high-energy day, this filter might be set to vibrant or productive. It highlights certain stimuli and dismisses others. On a low-energy day, the filter slams to deficit. It now highlights every sign of weariness, every unmade decision, every unsent email, and interprets them all as evidence of a fundamental personal shortfall. The filter colors everything gray. The practice is not to tear the filter off. That's another exhausting act of war. The practice is to become consciously aware that you are wearing a filter. This is the moment of mindfulness, sati. You step back and note, the deficit filter is on. This simple act of recognition creates a crack of light between you and the filtered reality. You are no longer wholly fused with the gray world, you are the one noticing the gray tint. From this place, you can make a gentle choice. You can't force the vibrant filter, but you might experiment with a curiosity or a soft focus filter. What does the world look like through the lens of simple curiosity right now? This is applying the Buddha's teaching on the six sense bases, understanding how our contact with the world through sight, sound, mind, etc., is always mediated, and that freedom lies in understanding that mediation. Let me share a story about a man named Ben. Ben was a software engineer whose worth was measured in lines of clean code and solved problems. After a period of intense stress, he crashed into what he called brain fog. He couldn't follow complex logic. His screen, once a portal of creation, became a wall of incomprehensible symbols. His perception filter was set to incompetence. One day, too weary to even look at his screen, he went for a walk in a large, old cemetery near his home. It was the only place quiet enough. He began to walk the rows, not thinking, just reading the names and dates. Beloved mother. Devoted husband. A life of kindness. Surrounded by the ultimate, quiet testimony of impermanence, his incompetence filter began to dissolve. His own crisis of mental clarity seemed to shrink to its proper scale. A new perception arose, not as a thought, but as a felt sense. All that remains is the quality of our presence. What is the quality of mine in this single step? In this single breath? His low-energy burnout, coupled with this memento mori contemplation, a practice shared by Buddhist and Stoic traditions, initiated a deep recalibration. He wasn't a failing programmer, he was a living being, walking among the stones. He returned to his work with a different filter, clarity, not complexity. His code became simpler, more elegant, and ironically, more effective. He had used his low-energy state to step into a wider, more truthful frame of perception. This leads to an actionable practice, the labeling game. When a heavy perception arises, like, "This day is wasted," don't argue with it. Simply label its type in a soft, internal voice. Call it storytelling, or catastrophizing, or judging, Do this with the detached interest of a naturalist noting a species of bird. Ah, there's the judging bird again. By labeling the process of perception rather than engaging with its content, you accomplish two things. First, you engage the prefrontal cortex, which has a calming effect on the amygdala's alarm. Second, you are directly applying the Buddhist insight of anatta, non-self, to your thoughts. The judgment is not you, it is a mental event passing through. This game creates space. In that space, you might find the raw sensation beneath the perception, perhaps just a feeling of warmth or pressure in the body, which is far easier to bear than the sprawling story. Now, let's introduce a beautiful Buddhist concept through a modern, physical metaphor, the wisdom of the wilt. We adore the bloom. We see a wilted flower as a failure, a sign of neglect. But in the cycle of a plant, wilting is not a failure, it is a necessary contraction, a drawing of energy back into the core, a preparation for the next phase, whether that be seeding or a period of dormancy. Your low energy state is a psychological and spiritual wilting. You are drawing your energy, your attention, your care, back from the outer petals of achievement and social performance, back toward your core. This is not a tragedy. It is a vital phase in your growth cycle. The Buddha's teaching on the Four Noble Truths is here, the suffering of wilting, first truth, the cause being our craving for perpetual bloom, second truth, the possibility of peace by accepting the natural cycle, third truth, and the path of wise living that includes rest, fourth truth. Can you honor your wilt? Can you see it not as decay, but as a gathering of strength? This reframe is a profound act of self-honesty and ecological wisdom. I remember a social worker named Maya. She was a reservoir of empathy for her clients, but it was a reservoir that was constantly being drained and rarely refilled. She hit a point of what she called compassion fatigue, where she felt nothing but a hollow, metallic echo when listening to others' pain. She saw this as the ultimate professional and moral failure. On a supervisor's advice, she took a week off with one rule: no productive self-care. No journals, no yoga classes with goals. Just being. One afternoon, she sat by a window watching a thunderstorm. She saw the rain not as something to analyze, but simply as rain. She felt the cool air not as a metaphor, but as sensation. In that empty, wordless space, a single tear fell, not for a client, but for the sheer, unadorned beauty of the storm. It was the first genuine feeling she'd had in months. It wasn't empathy for someone, it was a direct, unfiltered communion with life. Her compassion fatigue had been the wilting of her professional empathy so that a deeper, more impersonal and resilient connection to life itself could be felt. She learned that true compassion, karuna, flows from this connected presence, not from a personal reservoir that can be emptied. Her low-energy wilting led her back to the root. So we see the power of working with perception. By noticing our filters, we gain freedom from them. By labeling our thoughts, we see they are not our master. By honoring the wisdom of the wilt, we align with natural cycles rather than fighting them. This turns a low-energy day from a battlefield into a landscape of insightful, gentle discovery. Let us journey now from the realm of perception into the heart of a practice that is both the simplest and most profound on a low-energy day, the practice of kindness. Specifically, kindness directed inward. We often treat ourselves with a harshness we would never direct at a weary friend. Buddhism offers a systematic cultivation of the heart through the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes, beginning with metta, loving kindness. But how do we practice metta when our inner voice sounds not like a loving friend, but a fatigued drill sergeant? We must start not with feeling, but with architecture. We must build a sanctuary of regard. Imagine your awareness as a round, gentle room. The walls are soft. The light is dim and forgiving. This is your inner sanctuary. Now, picture your tired self, the you that feels heavy and low, not as a problem, but as a welcomed guest entering this room. Your job as the host of your own mind is not to fix this guest, not to energize them or lecture them. Your only duty is to offer them a seat. To acknowledge their presence with a nod. I see you are here. It is okay for you to be here. This act of internal hospitality is the first brick of metta. It is a psychological stance of non-abandonment. On a day when the world feels demanding, you become the one safe space that makes no demands. This sanctuary is built on the Buddhist understanding of ahimsa, non-harming, applied first and foremost to your own being. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Chloe, a high-powered attorney known for her relentless precision. Her mind was a vault of case law and flawless arguments. When she suffered a concussion, the vault was scrambled. She couldn't follow complex threads. Her thoughts were slow, muddy. The mental clarity that defined her was gone. Her inner critic was merciless, accusing her of being broken, useless. One afternoon, sitting in her quiet apartment, she heard the neighbor's child practicing piano, the same simple scale, over and over, with clumsy, hesitant fingers. Instead of irritation, she felt a sudden, piercing tenderness for that effort. In that moment, she saw her own recovering mind as that child, fumbling, repeating, trying to find the right note. The ruthless attorney in her mind went silent. A new voice, gentle and maternal, whispered, "It's okay. Just try the note again. There's no rush." For the first time since her injury, she offered herself the patience she would offer a child. She was building a sanctuary of regard within her own battered consciousness. She was practicing metta not as a meditation technique, but as a fundamental reparenting of her own experience. Her low-energy recovery became the crucible for a new, kinder identity. From this, we can cultivate a practice, the hand on the heart. It is disarmingly simple, yet neurologically potent. When you notice the wave of fatigue or self-judgment, gently place your hand over your heart. Feel the warmth of your hand, the steady beat beneath your palm. With each in-breath, imagine drawing that warmth into the heart center. With each out-breath, imagine radiating that warmth to the tired parts of your being. You are not saying anything. You are communicating care through touch, a language older than words. This somatic practice bypasses the critical mind and speaks directly to the nervous system, signaling safety. It is a direct application of the Buddha's teaching on mindfulness of the body, Kayanupassana. You are using the body as a vehicle to cultivate a wholesome heart state. It is actionable self-help that requires no mental energy, only a moment of remembered gentleness. This leads us to another cornerstone, forgiveness, or kshanti. On low-energy days, we often harbor a quiet resentment against ourselves for not being more. We are angry at our limitations. Buddhist forgiveness is not about condoning, it's about releasing the corrosive burden of the past to be free in the present. Think of your past actions, or today's inactions, as stones you are carrying in a backpack. Your fatigue is the weight of the backpack. Forgiveness is the act of stopping, taking off the pack, and deliberately, stone by stone, leaving them by the side of the path. The stone of, I should have slept more. The stone of, I didn't finish that task. The stone of, I'm not who I wanted to be today. You are not saying the stones are good. You are saying, carrying these is harming my journey now. This is an act of fierce self-compassion and practical wisdom. It is the application of right intention, the intention of renunciation, of letting go. I knew a man named Eris, a perfectionist craftsman who made exquisite furniture. A tremor developed in his hands, ending his career. He fell into a stagnant lethargy, filled with bitterness for his betraying body. One day, his grandson brought him a lump of rough, poorly kneaded clay. "Make something with me, Grandpa." Eris's first thought was, I can't even hold a tool. But the boy's eyes were hopeful. So, Eris simply placed his own trembling hands over the boy's small ones on the clay. Together, their 4 hands, one set old and shaky, one set young and clumsy, pressed into the mud. They didn't make a vase or a bowl. They just made shapes. The tremor was now part of the art, creating unexpected ridges and grooves. Eris, through his grandson's touch, forgave his hands. He let go of the stone of the craftsman I was, and picked up the lighter stone of the grandfather I am. His low-energy stagnation broke not through effort, but through the gateway of forgiven touch and shared, imperfect creation. He embodied pratyaya samutpada, dependent origination. Seeing that his new, limited form could still be a condition for connection and a new kind of beauty. So, we see that the path through low energy is often paved with softness, not hardness. It is built by constructing an inner sanctuary, by offering the simple comfort of a hand on the heart, by practicing the radical forgiveness that lightens our load. These are not grand gestures. They are the small, mighty acts of turning a mind at war into a heart at home. We now arrive at a juncture where our exploration must turn toward a subtle but powerful force, the energy of attention itself. On a low-energy day, your attention is like a flashlight with dying batteries. The beam is dim, it flickers, and it feels impossible to hold it steady on any one thing. Our instinct is to fret over the dying batteries, the lack of mental fuel. But Buddhism, paired with psychological insight, suggests a different approach. Instead of focusing on the power source, focus on the quality of the beam. Even a dim, flickering light can be used wisely. It can create soft shadows, reveal texture, or find a single, small, important object in a dark room. This is the practice of mindful attention, manasikara, one of the fundamental mental factors in the Buddha's teaching. Let's use a new metaphor, the kaleidoscope of glimpses. When you are energetically vibrant, your attention is like a bright, steady spotlight, illuminating a full scene in detail. On a low-energy day, that spotlight is gone. Instead, you have a kaleidoscope. You get brief, fragmented glimpses, a feeling of the couch fabric, a snippet of a distant sound, a half-formed memory, the weight of your eyelid. The suffering comes when we try to force these glimpses into a steady spotlight. We think, I should be able to focus, and strain against our nature. The wisdom is to drop the effort and instead enjoy the kaleidoscope. Let each glimpse be its own complete world. The feeling of the fabric is the entire universe for 1 second. Then the sound. Then the weight. You are not failing to sustain attention, you are practicing a rapid, gentle, and accepting form of vipassana, insight into the impermanent, flickering nature of phenomena themselves. Your low energy becomes the very condition that reveals this truth vividly. You are not meditating despite the flicker, you are meditating on the flicker. Let me share a story about a teacher named Elijah. He was a professor of literature, a man who could hold complex narrative threads in his mind for hours. After a period of insomnia, his cognitive stamina shattered. He couldn't follow a paragraph to its end. Preparing for a lecture felt impossible. In despair, he cancelled his usual detailed notes. He walked into class, admitted to his students he was running on very little mental fuel, and said, "Today, instead of me giving you a lecture, let's all just look at the first sentence of this poem. We'll just talk about that one sentence. What do you see?" He directed his flickering kaleidoscope of attention onto those 6 words. A student mentioned the sound of the O. Another noted the white space after the comma. For an hour, they explored a single sentence with a depth and curiosity that his polished lectures rarely achieved. Elijah discovered that his diminished capacity for breadth had forced him into a profound depth. He was practicing one-pointedness, ekagata. Not by force of will, but by necessity and surrender. His low-energy state didn't ruin his teaching, it refined it, teaching him that depth of attention is not a function of energy, but of intention and limitation. This invites a practical method, the 60-second universe. Set a timer for 1 minute. Choose one ordinary object within your reach, a cup, a pen, your own hand. Your task is not to think about it, but to perceive it with every sense available. See its color, its texture. If you can touch it, feel its temperature, its weight. If you can safely smell it or taste it, do so. Listen to any sound it makes. For 60 seconds, let this object be the entire universe for your attention. When your flickering mind darts away, and it will, gently guide it back to the sensory details of the object. This is not a test of focus. It is a game of gentle return. You are using the narrow beam of your low-energy attention to drill a well of presence into a single point. This practice builds the mental muscle of samadhi, concentration, in the kindest, most accessible way possible. It proves to you that attention, however brief, can be purposeful. Now, let's integrate this with a core Buddhist concept, dependent origination. This teaching states that all phenomena arise based on causes and conditions. Your low-energy state is not a random failing, it is the lawful result of a vast web of causes: sleep, nutrition, stress, past mental actions. Your flickering attention is similarly dependent. One condition for it is your belief that it's bad. What if you changed that condition? What if you decided that a flickering, kaleidoscopic attention was perfectly suited for a certain kind of seeing, the seeing of interconnection, of fleeting beauty, of the spaces between things? You would be altering a key condition in the dependent arising of your suffering. Your relationship to the experience would change, and therefore the experience itself would transform. A flickering light in a cave can reveal the glitter of minerals in the rock that a steady beam would wash out. You are changing the condition from "this is wrong" to "this reveals a different truth." I recall a nurse named Anya who worked night shifts. Her life was a perpetual state of low-grade fatigue, her attention perpetually gauzy. She saw it as a professional hazard. One long night, sitting with an elderly patient who couldn't sleep, she was too tired to make conversation. So she just sat, her attention soft and diffuse. In that haze, she noticed the rhythmic sound of the oxygen concentrator, the faint light from the hallway, the slow rise and fall of the patient's blanket. She wasn't monitoring with clinical focus, she was simply present in the sensory tapestry of the room. The patient, feeling this quiet, non-intrusive presence, whispered, "Thank you for just sitting in the dark with me." In that moment, Anya realized her low energy, diffuse attention was not a deficit for her job, it was a rare form of healing presence. It wasn't a laser solving problems, it was a moonlit field, offering companionship without demand. Her professional identity expanded from problem solver to space holder, a role deeply aligned with the Bodhisattva ideal of compassionate abiding. So, we reframe the flickering beam. We see it as a kaleidoscope offering unique glimpses. We use it to explore 60-second universes. We understand it as a condition-dependent phenomenon that we can meet with curiosity, not contempt. In doing so, we transform a symptom of depletion into a tool for a deeper, quieter kind of knowing. Let's now gather all these threads, of acceptance, perception, kindness, and attention, into a single, unifying practice for the low-energy day. This is not one more thing to do. It is the essence of being when doing has ceased. In the final teachings of the Buddha, he emphasized the practice of mindfulness of breathing as a direct path. But on days when even following the breath feels like a chore, we can distill this further into what might be called the practice of the pause between. This is the cultivation of awareness not of an object, but of the space itself, the space between breaths, between thoughts, between waves of fatigue. This space is not empty. It is full of potential. It is the ground of your being. Imagine your experience as an old quilt. The patches are your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, some bright, some worn, some heavy like thick denim, some light like silk. On a low-energy day, you feel stuck beneath the heaviest patches. The practice is to gently shift your awareness from the patches to the stitching. The stitching is the silent, connecting awareness that holds the patches together. It is the space between the patches. It is thin, strong, and often overlooked. Your attention to the breath, or to a sound, or to a neutral point in the body, is simply a tool to find this stitching. Once you feel it, that continuous, connecting thread of consciousness, you can rest there. You are no longer identified with any single patch of tiredness or thought. You are the quiet, enduring stitch that witnesses the entire quilt. This is an experience of consciousness without surface, via anidasana, a profound peace accessible exactly when the surface mind is calm out of exhaustion. So, let's weave this into a final story of integration. There was a man named Leo, whom we met earlier as the fixer who learned to let go. Years after his illness, he found himself one winter afternoon, retired and feeling the familiar dull ache of low energy and vague purposelessness. He sat in his armchair. He didn't try to read or listen to music. He simply sat as the gray light faded. He noticed the patches of his experience, the ache in his knee, a denim patch, a memory of his father, a faded flannel, a slight chill, a cool satin. But instead of following any of them, he let his awareness sink into the stitching. The silent, connecting space that held it all. In that space, a simple, wordless knowing arose: this is enough. This presence is complete. It wasn't a thought. It was a settling, like a snowflake landing on already fallen snow. In that moment, his low energy wasn't a lack of something, it was the very condition that allowed him to stop seeking and to fully inhabit the stitching of his own existence. He was practicing Samma Samadhi, right concentration, not on a single point, but on the unifying field of awareness itself. His life, in all its patches, was held, and he was the holder. There was nothing more to do, and in that, everything was accomplished. This is the ultimate invitation of a low-energy day, framed by the wisdom of Buddhism and made actionable for your life, to stop trying to reweave the patches, and to discover instead the liberation of being the stitch. The fatigue, the fog, the stillness, they are not your enemies. They are the gentle, insistent teachers guiding you from the drama of the patches to the peace of the seam. They are asking you to inhabit the pause between, where the silent, spacious, and whole nature of your mind is revealed not in spite of your condition, but because of the quiet it imposes. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a presence to be realized. And sometimes, it takes the gracious failure of all our striving for that realization to dawn, as soft and as inevitable as the next breath, in the temple of your own quiet being.